All right, listen up. You ever hear about those places? The ones everyone avoids? Not because they're dangerous in a regular way, but because something's just off? Well, tonight I'm going to tell you about one of those places. A story that'll have you questioning every creak you hear in the dark. Ready? Okay, imagine this. There's this old asylum. Yeah, you know the type. Huge grey crumbling brick building sitting at the edge of the woods. The locals call it Blackwood Asylum. It's been abandoned for decades, but they say you can still hear the screams if you're brave or stupid enough to walk by after midnight. But here's the kicker. People don't just hear things. No, some who've dared to go inside, they don't come out the same, or worse, they don't come out at all. Now, our story starts with a guy named Alex. Late 20s, skeptic to his core. He's one of those people who doesn't believe anything unless he can see it, touch it, or prove it. And when his friends start daring each other to spend one night inside the asylum, Alex volunteers without hesitation. Classic too cool to be scared guy, right? But here's the twist. Alex isn't doing it to prove anything to his friends. No, he's doing it because of his sister. She disappeared when they were kids, and the last place anyone ever saw her? Yup, you guessed it, Blackwood Asylum. Alex steps through the front gate, flashlight in hand. The air? Dead still. Not even the crickets are chirping, like the whole world's holding its breath. His first mistake? Leaving the gate open. Always close the gate, right? The main hall greets him like the set of every horror movie you've ever seen. Peeling wallpaper, broken furniture, and the faintest whisper of something or someone just out of reach. But Alex keeps moving. Room after room, he finds old patient files scattered everywhere, each one filled with the kinds of things that make your skin crawl. Experimentations, treatments gone wrong, even accounts of mysterious disappearances. And just when he starts thinking he's wasting his time, he finds it. A single, small, dusty shoe tucked under a broken cot. Alex knows it instantly. His sister's shoe. His breath catches. And for the first time that night, the skeptic falters. This isn't a game anymore. Suddenly he hears it, a faint knock like something tapping against the walls. At first he thinks it's the wind until it happens again. Louder, closer. His flashlight flickers, typical, right? But no, this is different. It doesn't just die out. It feels like something wants the darkness to take over. And then laughter. High-pitched, childlike, and coming from the floor above him. "Emily," he whispers, barely daring to hope. He races upstairs, the sound of his footsteps swallowed by the eerie silence around him. Every door he passes feels like it's watching him, like the building itself is alive. Finally, he reaches a room with the door slightly ajar. The laughter is louder now, but there's something wrong with it, like it's layered with something deeper, something ancient. He pushes the door open. Inside, the room is freezing. His breath clouds the air, and in the middle of it all, a small figure, a little girl, her back to him. Alex steps closer, heart pounding. "Emily?" he asks again. The figure doesn't move at first, but then it turns. Slowly, too slowly. And when Alex sees her face, he wishes he hadn't. Because it's not her, not anymore. The eyes are black, soulless voids. The mouth stretches too wide, filled with too many teeth. And when she speaks, it's not Emily's voice. It's a chorus, deep and guttural. You came for her, but now you stay. The door slams shut behind him. The walls seem to close in, and the laughter, it's everywhere now. He tries to run, but the room feels endless, like no matter how far he goes, he's stuck. And then the shadows move, crawling, slithering toward him. They drag him to the floor, and the last thing Alex hears is his sister's voice, soft and scared, whispering, "I told you not to come." Gap 3S. Just when Alex thought it was all over, the walls seemed to move. Behind the peeling wallpaper, a hidden door appeared. His heart thumped as he crawled towards it and pushed it open. Inside, a narrow staircase spiraled down into the darkness below the asylum. Taking a deep breath, he started down, the air getting colder with each step. At the bottom, a long corridor stretched out before him, lined with doors. Each door had a name and a date on it. Alex opened the first door and stepped inside. It was a small room full of dusty toys and a little bed, but the walls, they were covered in scribbles, desperate messages from a child lost long ago. He went to the next room. This one was a doctor's office, with old medical tools scattered around. On the desk, a journal described terrible experiments, cruel treatments. Alex shivered, the horror of what happened in this place sinking in. Room after room he uncovered more secrets, patients who never left, their ghosts trapped within the asylum walls. And then, at the very end of the corridor, a final door. This one was bigger, fancier. With shaky hands, he opened it. Inside, a huge hall filled with shadows. In the middle, a massive tree, its branches reaching out like dark, twisted arms. And underneath it, a circle of figures, their faces hidden by hoods. They were chanting in a language Alex didn't understand, their voices rising in a chilling harmony. Suddenly they turned to him, their eyes glowing in the dim light. The leader stepped forward, pulling back his hood to reveal a familiar face, Alex's own. The figure smiled, a cold, cruel smile. "Welcome, Alex. We've been waiting for you." The shadows closed in, the chanting grew louder, and Alex realized the asylum's darkest secret was him. He'd been here before, he was part of it, and now he could never leave. The scene fades to black, the echoes of the chanting hanging in the air. Gap 3S, Alex stumbled out of the hall, breathing hard. The sight of his own face wouldn't leave his mind. He needed to understand this nightmare. Going deeper into the creepy old asylum, he found a door. It said, "Records Room." He pushed it open. Rows and rows of dusty filing cabinets filled the room. It smelled like mildew and old paper. Alex started searching, pulling out folders and stacks of yellowed documents. What he found was worse than any nightmare. The records told a terrible story. Patients were experimented on. Their screams were just little notes in the doctor's diaries. There were photos, too. Black and white pictures of thin faces, eyes wide with fear and pain. One file stood out. It had his sister's name on it. His hands shook as he opened it. The words blurred as tears filled his eyes. She'd been here. She'd suffered. The last paper was a letter from the head doctor. It talked about a ritual, something old, meant to trap lost souls in the asylum forever. Alex's name was there, and his sister's. They were chosen, marked for something he couldn't understand. The asylum's history felt like a heavy weight, pressing down on him. The walls seemed to close in, the whispers of the past growing louder. He had to get out, escape before he became another name in those awful records. But the door slammed shut, trapping him. The shadows deepened, the air grew icy. Then he heard it, the laughter from the hall echoing through the walls. Alex wasn't alone. The ghosts of the asylum's victims were with him, watching from the darkness, whispering. He was part of their story now, trapped in the asylum's horrifying past. The scene fades to black. The sound of rustling papers and distant eerie laughter can still be heard. Gap 3S, just as Alex was trying to understand the scary records, a freezing wind blew through the room, throwing papers everywhere. The room got super cold and the lights flickered and then went out. Alex was really scared. He tried to turn on his flashlight, but it was getting dim too. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw something move, shadows twisted into creepy shapes that looked like they were trying to grab him. The whispers got louder, like lots of people screaming. Alex's heart was beating fast as he backed away, trying to find a way out. Suddenly, the door to the records room creaked open. It showed a long, dark hallway. Without thinking, Alex ran, his flashlight barely showing him where to go. The walls felt like they were closing in, and the air smelled like something was rotting. As he ran, he felt a cold, bony hand touch his shoulder. He turned and saw the scary figure from before, its eyes glowing like an evil monster. It reached out, and Alex felt an icy grip on his arm. He pulled away and ran faster, his heart pounding in his chest. The hallway twisted and turned, taking him deeper into the asylum. Ghostly figures appeared and disappeared, making sad crying noises. Alex was breathing hard as he ran through the dark, the creepy figure always close behind. Finally, he saw a small light. He ran towards it as fast as he could and burst through a door into what looked like an old church. The room had a strange, spooky glow. In the middle was an old altar covered in weird symbols. Alex didn't stop to look. He pushed through another door and found himself in a broken-down courtyard. The night air was cold, but it felt better than the scary air inside. He kept running until he was far away from the asylum, but the scary laughter stayed in his head. He had barely escaped, and he would never forget being chased by those ghosts. The asylum had let him go this time, but he knew it would always be there, a scary reminder of what was inside. The scene fades to black. The sound of Alex's heavy breathing and distant, eerie laughter can still be heard. Gap 3S. Just when Alex thought his legs couldn't carry him another step, he tripped and collapsed, struggling to breathe. The chilling sound of laughter still rang in his ears. As he pulled himself together, he spotted a faint, flickering light in the distance. With nowhere else to turn, he dragged himself towards it. The light led him to a small concealed room hidden behind a crumbling wall. Inside, an old man sat on a dust-covered chair, his eyes filled with both terror and a deep, knowing look. The man fixed his gaze on Alex and said in a shaky voice, "You must be Alex. I've been expecting you." Alex was startled. "Who are you?" he stammered, his voice trembling. "My name is Daniel," the old man replied, "a former patient of Blackwood Asylum. I've been imprisoned here for years, waiting for someone who could finally grasp the curse that plagues this place." Alex listened carefully as Daniel recounted the asylum's grim history. This place was built on cursed ground. The doctors here performed horrific experiments, and the spirits of those who suffered remain seeking vengeance. That sinister figure you saw is the embodiment of their shared agony. "But why me? Why am I their target?" Alex asked, desperate for an explanation. Daniel sighed. "Because you have a link to this place. Your sister was one of the last victims before the asylum closed its doors. Her spirit is trying to contact you to warn you and to finally rest in peace." As the truth dawned on Alex, Daniel offered him a tattered ancient journal. "This holds the secrets to breaking the curse. You must find the bravery to confront the evil that dwells within these walls and liberate the trapped souls." With a newfound resolve, Alex thanked Daniel and accepted the journal. He knew the path ahead would be dangerous, but he was prepared to face whatever horrors awaited him for his sister and the countless souls imprisoned within Blackwood Asylum. The scene fades to black, with the sound of Alex's footsteps echoing as he departs the hidden room, ready to face the darkness. A Gap 3S. As Alex left the secret room, the journal felt heavy in his hands, like a tiny light in the growing darkness. The asylum felt even scarier now that he knew the true horror hidden inside. He found a quiet corner and opened the journal. Dust and age made some pages hard to read, but he could still see drawings and notes about rituals and symbols that could break the curse. His eyes raced across the pages, figuring out what to do. He needed to find special things hidden in the asylum, each one connected to a trapped soul. A lock of hair, a piece of clothing, a small personal item. These things were key to the ritual. The journal also warned of dangers. Each item was protected by the ghosts of the dead, twisted and angry from their suffering. Alex shivered, knowing he'd have to face these ghosts. But for his sister, for all the trapped souls, he got ready. Taking a deep breath, Alex made a plan. First, he'd find the items quickly and quietly. Then, he'd go back to the main hall for the ritual. He memorized the protective symbols and words, knowing they were his only defense against the evil spirits. As he stood up, the asylum seemed to groan, as if it knew what he was planning. He held the journal tight, feeling brave. The way ahead was dangerous, but Alex wasn't alone anymore. He carried the hopes of the trapped souls, their whispers of encouragement in his mind. With one last look at the secret room, Alex set off, ready to collect the items and fight the evil that had haunted Blackwood Asylum for so long. The scene fades to black, with the sound of Alex's determined footsteps echoing through the dark corridors of the asylum. Gap 3S. Right, so Alex is walking deeper into the creepy Blackwood Asylum. Every step he takes, the place feels heavier, scarier, like it's closing in on him. He's got everything he needs, a bit of hair, a piece of clothing, and something small that belonged to... well, we'll find out. He's been reading this old journal so much it's practically falling apart, but he knows the ritual off by heart. He's in the main hall now, and you can feel something's about to happen. Then, whoosh! A freezing wind blows through the hall and his torch goes out. In the dim light he sees it, this shadowy figure coming out of the darkness. It's even bigger than he thought, and its eyes are glowing like it wants to hurt him. The room goes cold, like all the warmth has been sucked out. Alex's heart is racing, but he remembers the special symbols and words from the journal. He starts chanting, his voice echoing in the empty hall. The figure makes this hissing sound and steps back a bit, but it doesn't run away. Oh no, it lunges straight at Alex, its body twisting in a really freaky way. Alex jumps back just in time. He keeps chanting, louder this time, like he really means it. The things he's holding start to glow, pushing back the darkness. The figure screams, a proper horrible scream that makes the whole asylum shake. But Alex doesn't stop. He holds the journal up high and shouts the last words of the ritual. It's like the words are magic, changing everything. The figure screams again, writhing in pain, and then it starts to disappear, turning into a swirling cloud of shadows. One last scream, and it's gone. Just silence. Alex is breathing really hard and he falls to his knees, dropping the journal. The air feels lighter now, not so scary. He did it. He broke the curse and freed the trapped souls. But as he gets up, something feels wrong. The asylum is quiet, too quiet. He might have won this fight, but something tells him this isn't over. Gap 3S. Everything goes black. All you can hear is Alex breathing heavily, reminding us what it cost him to face that thing in Blackwood Asylum. Gap 3S. As the darkness goes away, Alex falls to his knees. The journal falls from his shaking hands. He looks around the quiet hall. The scary feeling is a bit less now, but Alex doesn't look happy. His eyes are wide with fear and tiredness. He did it. He broke the curse and freed the ghosts. But what did it cost him? Gap 1S. Alex hears a small whisper behind him. He turns around quickly, but nothing is there. Just the empty asylum. He tries to stand, but his legs are wobbly. He stumbles, grabbing a broken chair. He's breathing hard, and he can't see well for a second. Everything he did, all the energy he used, it's hitting him hard now. Gap 1S. Suddenly a cold hand grabs his shoulder. He turns around fast, his heart thumping, but again nobody's there. It's like the asylum is making fun of him. He knows he needs to leave, but his body feels heavy, like he's walking in thick mud. Every step is really hard. He gets to the entrance hall. The air feels a bit fresher there, but it still smells like old rotting things. Gap 1S. Just as he gets to the exit, he hears it, a quiet, gentle whisper of his name. Alex. He stops, unable to move. He knows that voice. It's his sister. He turns, and for a short time he sees her, a ghost standing in the shadows. She smiles at him, but it's a sad smile. Gap 1S. Thank you, she whispers, and then she disappears. Alex's heart hurts. He freed her, but he knows she's not really gone. The asylum will always keep a part of her, and now it has a part of him too. He walks out into the cold night air. The asylum is behind him, a dark shape against the moonlit sky. Gap 1S. As he walks away, he feels empty inside. He won, but he's changed. The asylum took something from him, a piece of himself, a part of his mind. He knows he can't go back to who he was before. The curse is broken, but the bad memories stay. Gap 3S. Alex disappears into the night, leaving the asylum behind. But he knows it's not really over. The scary memories of Blackwood Asylum will always be with him, reminding him of the horrible things he saw and the price he paid. Go 3S. Alex sits alone by the window in his small flat, looking out at the night sky. He looks tired, like a shadow of his old self. You can see the sadness in his eyes, a sadness that comes from Blackwood Asylum. The moon shines on his face as he starts to talk into a recorder. His voice is shaky and sad. Gap 1S. I've seen terrible things, Alex says, his voice trembling. Awful things happened at Blackwood Asylum, things that changed me. I went there to find my sister, to bring her home, but I found something much worse. The asylum, it took a part of me, a part I'll never get back. Gap 1S. He stops to take a deep breath. His eyes are shiny with tears. He's trying not to cry. But it also taught me something important. It taught me that you can't fight every battle on your own. Sometimes the bravest thing is to just walk away. Gap 1S. Alex holds a small, worn-out photo of him and his sister. It was taken a long time ago, before the bad things happened. I got her out, but it came at a price. A part of me will always be trapped in that asylum, just like she was. But I have to believe she's okay now, that she's finally free. Gap 1S. He looks out the window again and his face softens a little. If I've learned anything, it's this. Some doors are best left unopened. Some mysteries are better left unsolved. And sometimes being brave means knowing when to give up. Gap 1S. Alex turns off the recorder and puts it on the table. He looks at the photo one last time before putting it away in a drawer. The night is quiet, except for the wind whispering outside, like the ghosts he set free. Gap 1S. As he lies down to sleep, the darkness in his room doesn't feel so scary anymore. The weight on his shoulders feels a little lighter. He knows he'll never forget what happened. But maybe, just maybe, he can learn to live with it. To start again. Gap 3S. The camera slowly fades to black. Alex is alone with his thoughts, a man changed forever by the horrors of Blackwood Asylum, but stronger because he faced them. The next morning, the town wakes up to find the gate to Blackwood Asylum open again. No sign of Alex, just his flashlight, lying in the dirt. And that laughter? If you walk by at midnight, they say it's louder now, echoing through the trees. So what's the moral here? Don't play hero. Some places are meant to be left alone, and some doors, once opened, can never be closed. Now turn on the lights, because trust me, you're going to need them tonight.